So I'm going to talk about my seed starting setup. So in here here's my little tomato babies, and talk about how I'm getting these started. One of the problems I've always had starting seeds inside by a window like this is that the seedlings get really tall and lanky, more like that one, but worse, but super skinny and things like that. These guys are staying nice and short. They're not reaching for the window and feeling like they're having to grow tall. They're growing stronger and tougher, and we'll get to see how these actually end up coming out. But let's talk about my method this year. I changed up my way I've been doing it. I've used those plastic little seed starting cup things for a long time, and I've never really liked them. They're a pain to use. I feel like I tear up the little plastic cups, and I tear up the root ball of the plant trying to get them out, and yeah, just never liked them. And so I wanted to go to something that I liked a little more and I felt was a little more sustainable. So here's what I did. I don't know if this is more sustainable because I've ended up putting a lot of technology into this. What I'm using here are soil blocks. So they're just blocks of soil. So I make these blocks. You have a little block maker, which I can show you later. There's a lot of good videos out there already on soil blocking, so I don't really have anything to add there. I'm still new at that. But a few things I've been doing with my setup. So one thing I got was just a long 4-foot fluorescent fixture. I just picked it up from a local hardware store, and I got the one with the T8 versus the T12 bulbs. The T8s apparently are a little brighter and better for growing. The T12s work, but not as well. A lot of what comes in what quote grow lights are T5s. So T8s are closer to T5s, I guess. But obviously these are doing really well though. It does produce a little heat, but not that much. What I've done is just tied this light fixture up with a slip knot here. So this allows me to raise and lower, here it is, raise and lower the light as needed. So I can, put it just, and you want it just a few inches above the plants. I just got one of these timers. They're super, super cheap. They're really designed to, I don't know, turn your lamps on and off and things like that. So I guess when you're out of town, it looks like somebody's home. I think that's their purpose. Anyway, you can just set this for when you want it on and when you want it off. So I have it set for about a 15 or 16 hours on. And so basically I have it off during our bedtime and on the rest of the day. So that gives them a lot of light, many hours of light. So what I've done too, because I always like to see my power usage, I have a kilowatt meter here. And you can see this hovers right around 80 watts all the time. Okay, so I'm using 80 watts of power. And what that's running is the grow light, as well as 2 heating pads. So I have these heating pads underneath that provide heat. So these are gentle little, and I got the specific heating pads for growing. Now what I did, I just built these little boxes, and I built them just to fit the soil block. So the little soil blocker makes these 4 2-inch blocks, and so I just made it that width so it'd be easy to handle and all of that. And so that the 18 by 8, I believe is what I've got, heating pads fit perfectly. Yeah, so two heating pads plus the grow light is running 80 watts, which isn't bad. So this is what I do with my, I guess, more heat requiring plants like tomatoes and peppers and basil is what I have planted in here. Now my tomatoes have done really well. My peppers, on the other hand, I only have one pepper doing well. Now peppers are slower to germinate than tomatoes, so that's one thing. My basil's done okay. I've got, 4 basil plants coming up over here. So one of the problems is that I actually used one of those heating pads, just that's you use for sore muscles and things, under the tomatoes, and so they just did significantly better before I got the heating pads. And I also, I probably should have left. Before I had the heating pads, I was putting these by the fire to keep them warm, and I didn't leave the peppers in there until they germinated. I should have done that. Now, the other problem I had was watering these guys. So I was just using one of those little spray bottles, the little that you squirt like what cleaning products come in, but I was not able to get enough water on there. It took too long, and they don't spray enough volume of water, and they were just drying out. And I was having to water these things like several times a day, and there's not always someone here that much, so that was becoming a problem. They were really drying out, and the tomatoes were starting to struggle a little bit. You can see now they're super healthy because I went and found a great solution. So I got this bottle here, which this little spray bottle, and this thing works great. Essentially, it's just you just pump it, and you just give it a few pumps, and then you just press the trigger, and it sprays a nice gentle spray, but it puts out a lot more volume, and you don't have to sit there and pull that trigger over and over and over again with your arm. Although I suppose that's a good hand and forearm workout. But that works great, and you can really soak them down with that. And this thing, the little button even locks in place. So that's how we do the indoor fragile plants, or not fragile, but heat requiring plants like tomatoes, peppers, basil. And now I'll show you how I do more cold tolerant ones.